guys. This is your strategy consultant and mentor Prashant Upadhyay. Uh, in the product management series, today we are going to cover something about design thinking, specifically the 5 stages of design thinking. So we'll be covering design thinking in 3 parts, and this is the first part in this series. And what we are going to cover in the contents you can see on the screen. We'll begin with the background of design thinking. Why do we need design thinking? The advantages of design thinking. Then we'll cover the design thinking model and move on to the different stages of design thinking, starting from empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test, and we'll also cover a case study in the end of it. Let's begin with the program on design thinking, the background of design thinking. Design thinking can mean different things to different people. It can be applied in various manners across different industries and domains. But what I would want you to first understand is on what basis this concept has been built upon. So you can see on the screen right now there are a few images. Now there is one particular image of a bare-bodied car or a vehicle, and next to it is a very beautiful model of a car. And if you look at both the images from a user's perspective, suppose if you want to purchase a car, what would the first thing that would come into your mind? I believe it's the look of the car rather than the technical specifications. What's the mileage, what kind of pickup it does it give, how's the gearbox or the steering wheel designed. These are secondary when it comes to the initial stage of buying a vehicle or a car. So the keyword here is aesthetics. So anyone who is a car lover or a bike lover or any vehicle for that matter, the first thought that would come to your mind is about the aesthetics rather than the technical requirements or specifications. Likewise, if it is about simple things such as office chair, you can see again 2 images over there. The image on the left hand side is a chair, a regular standard revolving office chair, and the one next to it on the right hand side is an ergonomically designed chair. Now if you were to choose between the two, I'm sure that you would go with the ergonomically designed chair, because no one would want to spend 8 to 10 hours sitting in an office chair and then ending up with some kind of health issues like back pain or body ache. So here the user experience is the center of focus. So these 2 images, if you can, these 2 examples, if you can compare with any other product that you may be using in your day-to-day life, you will get the basic idea of what is meant by design thinking. Moving on, what you're seeing on the screen right now are a few images. The first one on the top left corner is a Game Boy handheld video game, and next to it is a Sony PSP again, which is a handheld video game. Now depending on which generation you belong to, you would relate to either one of it. For example, in my case, during my childhood I had something similar to Game Boy or a Nintendo, where we had to hold the device with both our hands and palms close to each other, and then press the control buttons with our thumbs. Now we were used to it because we never had any other choice. But if you ask someone belonging to Gen Z or the millennials, I think they would feel quite discomforted while playing with the Game Boy, because it could even lead to pain in your fingers or something like carpal tunnel syndrome. And what we have today is the Sony PSP handheld game, where you can hold it in this manner and play your favorite game, at a leisure for hours and hours altogether. So here the utility factor is at play. And the next two images below it, what you're seeing is uh, the display unit or the screen of an ATM machine or an automated teller machine. Now, the one on the right hand side, I believe everyone is familiar with it, because we as user, end user of the ATM, that's the screen we often see when we go there to perform a transaction like cash deposit or withdrawal or a transfer or checking balance or anything like that. And it's always a colorful screen with large buttons and uh, instructions designed to help us navigate the entire interface. In stark contrast, the design on the bottom left side, the interface that is shown over there, is the one that is seen by the technician or the engineer who would operate or maintain the ATM machine. Now, from the technician's point of view, it is complete in all respects, because it has the input, the output, the toolkit that he's gonna use, and the navigation buttons are very small with little or no instructions. Now, here what you see is the user interface that is at play, which is designed as per the functional requirements of the user. There's more to design thinking than you can imagine. It's not just about aesthetics, utility, user experience, or user interface. There's more to it, like safety and reliability, that you can see on your screen right now. Uh, the top two images on the screen are basically something called as D shackles, which are used as an anchor for a lanyard or a safety harness. So if you're in an industrial setup working at a height, or if you're into mountaineering, you would be very well aware of it. Now, which of these two would you choose? The one on your right hand side or the one on your left hand side? Now, I being an avid mountaineer, a hiker, I would definitely go for the one on the right hand side, which is called a kind of a D shackle, because it has more strength, it is more safe to use. It is not a snap-on hook like the one you can see on the left hand side. A snap-on hook can be risky for your life when you're actually climbing or working at a height, while the one on the right hand side, it has a kind of a hook which has a screw which fits in tightly. So once you fix it, once you rotate and fix it, you're pretty sure that it's not gonna snap and open up, which can lead to great danger to your life. So that's the safety aspect of it. Below it, what you can see is there are two different types of saddles that you can see if you're into horse riding. The one on the left hand side is a very traditional kind of a saddle, which you might be able to see in villages, rural areas, or countryside. And the one on the right hand side is the type of saddle which is used in your tonga or the horse carriages, and there's a pretty lot of difference between the two. And here the focus is about reliability, how reliable it is, what is the particular use of the saddle. The saddle needs to be strong enough and needs to provide balance to the rider while riding onto the horse, or even while alighting down from the horse, and even during the horse ride. So if I would ever want to go on a horse ride, I would prefer it to have the saddle which is shown on the right hand side. Design thinking is a very invaluable tool which can be used in the development of a product, a process, or service, all three of it, or any of it. Now, if we compare the traditional approach versus the modern approach involving design thinking, you can see the difference on your screen right now. In the traditional approach, how would professionals and organizations behave? They would consider design just as an afterthought. they would not incorporate design thinking into the design stage of the core product itself. They would first go about designing the entire product and then consider design just as something to fulfill aesthetics or only useful for packaging disconnected from the product. They would consider that design part or the design aspect is only useful to increase the attractiveness of the product, or maybe required only for marketing and branding. So that was the traditional approach a few decades back. But what we have today is the use of design thinking as a tool in the development of anything that matters. And what it involves is uh, keeping the user at the center. One would apply uh, thoughts, creativity, and empathy, which would obviously cover ideas, opinion, imagination, originality, feelings, and emotions. So, all these things, when they go into the design and development of a particular product, process, or service, then we can call it as an output of design thinking. You can see the evolution of design thinking on your screen right now. Uh, it's a brief timeline of how design thinking evolved over the ages or over the decades. Now, the particular term design thinking came into the forefront only in the 1990s, when the founders of IDEO, David Kelly, Tim Brown, and Roger Martin, coined this term in their press and media releases and their interviews. But if we look at the overall evolution, it began somewhere in the 1900s, where Ames Chairs proposed a concept of learning by doing, and it slowly evolved over the ages. There were so many contributors in every decade, and what we can call as a major milestone after the IDEO launch is that Harvard Business Review, there was an article by Tim Brown, who's the CEO of IDEO once again, where it became kind of a rage in the corporate world, and this probably happened somewhere in 2008. And as of now, MIT, or the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, their design lab has a specific innovation lab dedicated to research on design thinking. Design thinking per se can mean different things to different people. But let us cover a few basic definitions of design thinking. According to Tim Brown, the definition that he gave in an Harvard Business Review magazine in June 2008 is: design thinking is a method of meeting people's needs and desires in a technologically feasible and strategically viable way. Well put. Let's look at another definition given by Christian Basin and Robert D. Austin, once again in the Harvard Business Review magazine, April 2019. Design thinking can mean different things, but it usually describes processes, methods, and tools for creating human-centered products, services, solutions, and experiences. Excellent. And one more simpler definition would be: design thinking is the application of the designer's crucial tools to the problems of business. Hope that you are with me so far, and you have been able to understand the basic concept of what is meant by design thinking. Now, what we need to ponder upon is, why do we need design thinking in the first place? And we are going to cover it in part 2 in this series. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Stay tuned and wait for part 2. Thank you for watching. Take care.